with me in studio two members of the Grenada National Trust. I have Mr. Darrell Brathwaite, he is the treasurer, and Mr. Michael Curtin, who is the vice president. Good morning, sir, and thanks so much. Well, gentlemen, not sir, but good morning, gentlemen, and thank you so much for stopping by this morning. Good morning. Wonderful. It's good to have both of you here. Any of you into the old Valentine thing? Ah.
It is a vague memory. I try to conserve as much as possible.
I know.
My expenditure on roses.
Put a lot of money into roses, haven't you? Mr. Brathwaite, you know I want to get her.
Well, you know, I always like to make people laugh, and if it was closer to our carnival, I'd have come here dressed up appropriately, but I figure I want the trust to be taken seriously this time. So
I know. I think a lot of people are saying, you know what, man, I've been there, I've done it. Once my partner is comfortable with a good hug and a kiss and just have a good day, and hey, let's keep it 365 days of the year as opposed to one day. I know.
Every day.
Exactly. See,
that's it. Hallelujah.
That's it. Curtin, you're a wise man. You're a wise man. Well, gentlemen, first off, tell me a little bit about the National Trust. What basically does it do?
Well, the National Trust was established by Ordinance Number 20 of 1967 and having been given assent to by the Governor Ian Turbot. And the purpose is to preserve, promote, protect our national heritage, and to collaborate in those activities with all the interested parties, so that in the end we can have a holistic understanding of the Grenadian heritage through its preservation and promotion.
Excellent. Before we go further, I just wanted to find out how many members active members, do you have right now that make a part of the trust?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
We have members who actually subscribe and make donations, and they're listed. It's about 60 of them. And then we have corporate members who are few in number, but their employees are technically also members.
Right.
And those would bring the number up to hundreds.
Right.
And then on top of that, we have Facebook friends who follow us on Facebook, and that's several hundreds as well.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. In terms of problems, opportunities, tell me a little bit more about major problems, opportunities that may be faced regarding Grenada's heritage.
Well, there is a general lack of appreciation of the concept of our heritage in that we do things that in a way demonstrate that we really don't fully understand, and I suspect that it has to do partly with the fact that our education system really doesn't address that. And there has not been any kind of ongoing activity in terms of the preservation, which we are trying to get at now. And there's, for example, we forget that our Carib root is also part of our heritage, and the artifacts are there, and we are destroying them, we are selling, we are, and in fact we now have a trade in which a lot of our industrial heritage is being sold as scrap. So if we are selling our heritage as scrap, it's an indication of our lack of understanding.
So true.
The time will come, I mean, if we don't get this thing right, we won't be able to show some of the grandchildren, the great-grandchildren, what this thing used to look like at this time, and your great-grandfather worked here, and what he did, and what was and so on and so forth. And then the whole area of the general attempt to protect the assets of the old colonial power in the form of all the fortifications and so on and so forth. That's also part of it, a significant part of it, and it accounts for the situation of St. George's, for example.
Right. I was actually browsing, like I mentioned earlier, I was browsing the website. I have a 7-year-old little girl, and she was there looking over my shoulder, and she's like, where is that, you know?
Right.
And I could tell you her
Yes.
face lit up because she couldn't believe in comparison that this is
Right.
what specific spots you used to look
Yes.
at look like. Now, where is this? This is Church Street.
Yes.
That's Church
Yeah.
Street, and the
John
one
Watt's office.
and the one you had before that was the
Right.
Catholic. Before they built the
That's
tower,
right.
It still had a
so
spire on
yes,
top.
it had the spire, and that the tower construction I think was started in 1928. So that's before 1928.
Wow.
Yes, and you can still see cultivation there. And
Yeah,
as you
no-
see Church Street with
sorry.
the areas in which they would put down people in a sedan chair, you carry people and you walk through there and put them down and they got off. That was a taxi.
Wow.
And that
Wow,
was
where is this?
originally Granitang Road.
Queen's
Right.
Park.
long ago.
And this is Queen's Park
Queen's
Pavilion.
Park.
Look at that. Lone building in the
Yes.
middle of lush greenery.
Yes, that's right.
Wow.
It's beginning.
What is surprising is to see aircraft in Queen's Park because
Really?
the amphibious craft used to land in the bay and then come
That's
into
right.
the park.
Wow.
So that was the.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Who would supply you these images?
Well, over the years, different people have collected, and there are a lot
Yes.
of private collections outside of the Grenada,
Grenada.
which are quite well stocked.
Good.
And in fact, it's ironic that we have to rely on them because they're non-Grenadians
Look
to
at
provide
that.
us
Yeah.
back now with some of our heritage.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we have to understand that the implications of being French and English over time, so that in fact we can quite a bit of our heritage can be found in both
yeah.
France and England,
Wow.
and all the other places where people came with interests and so on. You know, and we want to make an appeal as well to the Grenadians who have old photographs and so on and so forth. To
Yes.
if you have nothing to do with them, you can pass them to us.
Oh,
We'll
yes.
be very happy
Oh, yes.
to collect the heritage.
Great.
You know,
Because
from
one of
the
our projects
photography.
is to have a digital archive,
Yeah.
Good.
you know, because it's not, it's also required as part of the education system, you know.
Yes.
Kids will have school projects to do and that sort of
Right.
thing. And it's an archive that we, for educational purposes, will have to provide free access to because technically a library. So we have to also look at funding
Yes.
so that we can do these things and then provide the services back to
Yes.
the public for free.
Right.
So in fact, we are in the process of strengthening our organization so that we can, you know, apply to reputable organizations who would then take us seriously
Yeah.
because they see that we are organized and we are capable of accounting for
That's right.
that whichever they may
Yeah.
choose to
Yeah, definitely.
support us.
Mr. Prophet, you just mentioned funding. If funding were to be made available, I'm curious to find out which site would the Trust restore first?
Well, the thing is, the obvious and the most prestigious items we have are the three forts, called, you know, the fortifications. They're imposing and impressive. Anybody comes to St. George, they're immediately apparent. But there was a project right before Ivan, where it was all written up, ready to go, restoration of the forts, and then of course Ivan changed everything, priorities had to change. So until we re-establish those sources of funds and get those projects running again, we have to do our development on an ad hoc basis.
Right.
So right now we have an agreement with the government for the drill yard. We had started working with them before the fire, and then the fire sort of prompted things, speeded up things.
Right.
And we are looking at a restoration project there.
We expect that to go very well in due course and to have a significant impact on that area of our beloved city
Yes.
and beautiful.
There are also smaller things we are doing. Immediately, we are, in conjunction with our corporate sponsors, we are looking at things like handrails for Simmons Alley, for Market Hill, because these are smaller amounts and they can be done out of our own existing cash flow.
Right.
But we also need the participation of the corporate sponsors who've been very good so far. You know, and the people are very excited that this organization has been reactivated and has a new dynamic thrust, and we're moving at a certain speed. So we're looking forward to that, and you will be hearing a lot more from us because we have a whole marketing arm now and the website. So
Yes.
you know, perhaps you could put up the website address, but it is Grenada National Trust.gd. and it's everyone can see what's happening there. There'll be newsletters, and then the
Excellent.
Facebook page is extremely popular.
Yes,
You know, because
yes.
that's a young people's
The way
thing,
to
you know.
go.
So
Oh yes,
it is,
and it's
is-
great. And look at that.
yeah.
Yes.
I just came across it because I'm not
Yeah.
sure if I would have found it any other way but Facebook, because I'm
Yeah.
constantly there, you know.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
But that's wonderful. Finally, I just wanted to find out, well, not finally, because I'm sure there's so much things I'd love to ask additionally. But a lot of people might say, okay, so the National Trust is generally about what? Restoring buildings? What else is the National Trust all about? Is it just restoration of buildings?
Well, this is preservation of all of our historic sites. And it extends also into the marine environment.
Great.
So it deals with the preservation and promotion of items on the marine level, as well as the whole business of certain aspects of our culture as well. There's a cultural heritage associated with those activities.
Right.
See?
Good, good. I wanted to find out something. I was, again, on the website, I was going through a list of, you know, what you do and that sort of thing. I saw something related to tours. Correct me if I'm wrong. Tours or...
Yes, but we want
Sort
to have
of.
a link
Yes.
with tourism.
Right.
And we have started mapping the points of interest around Grenada on Google Maps. Just like when you use the Google World,
Right.
you can zoom in and see before you get to a place what it looks like, pictures, and
right.
there are links, informational links, and so people can plan their tours. And I know that traditionally we have had tour guides who offer to guide tourists around, but many of them would like to be independent. They have handheld digital devices. They can follow, they can guide themselves and pick up the information. So we have to provide, in keeping with modern trends, that digital information. So they can look on Google Maps, see the points of interest, see all the information they need related to that point, how to get there, everything.
Right.
You know,
And
so
we can say we did have a hand in the establishment of the Sally Port and so on for the tour of Fort George. And there are ideas concerning the possibility of an aerial tour
Great.
from the ship to the fort,
Very
to the other
nice.
fort, and
Very
the whole
nice.
panoramic view ideas at the time. And the possibility of looking into the subterranean communication of the fortifications, the caves, and so on, of which there
Caves.
are some evidences in the city
Great.
of St. George.
Sounds
So,
good.
yeah.
But gentlemen, we're almost out of time, but really, really quickly, your thoughts. If you had to mention, and I know I'm probably going to put you on the spot to this, but anyway, if you had to mention a spot on the island that really breaks your heart to see what has become of it, what would that spot be on the island? For you, Mr. Curtin. Mr. Brathwaite, you have a...
Yes,
a
I
good
think-
question.
Yeah.
Karen, I think pearls, for example, the Amerindian
Yes,
site there.
Yes.
yes.
You know, that there is,
Yes.
we just lost it entirely.
That's so true.
And we losing some of the areas to the north around Bedford Point out there and Livera and that type of thing.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Pearl's the Amerindian site.
Yeah.
Is really.
Yes, I agree.
You share the
Pearls, when we went there, we were horrified because we had to walk the site. And you're just walking on layers and layers of broken
Yeah.
historic items.
Oh,
And, you know, it's important for us to get the community,
to
communities
understand.
interested in these projects. And we have, in fact, appointed parish leaders in each
Excellent.
parish,
Yes.
and they will take responsibility and engage the community. This is not something that is just being run from St. George's. It's their own thing. I mean, in East Africa, in Kenya and all that, to stop the poaching, they got the villagers interested in the conservation of the elephants and all of that. And the tourism business that spun off from it. And then they appreciated it, they saw it in a different light.
Yeah.
And we are trying to use the same psychological approach here so that people will look after their own heritage instead of this destruction, and it's not deliberate destruction always. Sometimes it's just carelessness.
Yes,
It's
And
carelessness, and I think it's just lack of knowledge, and it's so true. But gentlemen, I'm truly happy that you made it this morning. Thanks so much for stopping by. And folks, if you need to find out more about the Grenada National Trust, it's right there on Facebook. We're all on Facebook. Just type in the words, the Grenada National Trust, and you'll get lots of information that can also take you to the website as well. Learn